All right, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. A couple of minutes, we'll be starting. We're just waiting for a few late people to arrive. So sit tight. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes. I was like, oh, well, I'm just gonna not see anyone ever. And I realised that's a need. I can't suppress that. Right. So then that just made me like. All right. Okay, for the benefit of everybody that's here, good evening. Good evening. Welcome. Who have we got here? Good evening, Chloe. Good evening, Eva. Good evening, Fatiha. Good evening. Who is Gifts of Love Amoratissimo? I feel like I should know, but I forgot. Hi, Katie. Hi, Jan. Hey, Razia. Hey, Tony. Hey, Tanya. Hey, Halima. Great to have you here tonight.
You did forget Miles. It's Georgetta.
Georgetta. Of course it is. When somebody puts in a random Zoom name, it always throws me. Great to have you here, Georgetta. Amazing. All right, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to this bonus Mastercoach Momentum session. This was initially designed really for those people that did Mastercoach in April, but I wanted to kind of open it up to the whole community because at the end of the day, everybody here probably might be in a position where they need some momentum for their coaching if they've been in this community for a while. So what we're going to do tonight is I'm just going to kind of remind you of some things. I always say I'm in the reminder business. For me, often I believe that a lot of what we learn in life, a lot of it is really common sense, but common sense isn't always common practice. You may have heard me say that before. That is not my saying. I think I heard Brendan Bouchard say it first. It isn't me that said that. But I want to kind of really just remind ourselves of really what are the core elements of a successful coaching business. I want you to think about how well you're doing in terms of applying these things, using these principles. Kind of maybe I was maybe even thinking about maybe you should score yourself. So that's probably a good thing to do. And then what we'll do is we'll do a bit of a Q&A where I'll get you to kind of unmute yourself and come on and ask questions. So I'm taking you right back to the beginning of time. That's weird. Taking you right back to the beginning of our time together in Mastercoach. You'll remember that in the initial training in our Mastercoach, I spoke about how there's effectively 7 Why did I say 7? Because it's not 7, it's 5. I just got back from holiday. My head's all over the place. there's five. There's five. There's 5 keys to a successful. That's hilarious. Should know my model by now, shouldn't I, Dan? There's 5 key fundamental things to a successful coaching business. And just to remind you what those are. The first one is really like, I'm going to spend a bit more time talking about this one today because there's been things I've been learning and things I've been studying that have really made this one, I think this one needs more talking about, thinking about, right? The first thing to a successful coaching business is you've got to be doing the work on yourself. And you probably heard me when I sell Mastercoach, I talk about every coach needs a coach, right? And I do believe every coach does need a coach. But you know what? Every coach probably needs more than that. If you have not yet succeeded as a coach in the way that you think you should have by now, there's probably a big, gigantic, meteor-sized blind spot that you're not even aware of. That is the reason why you're not succeeding. So you need to look at that. You need to look at that. You need to figure out what's going on. So, like, in the past year, I've had probably 100 hours of therapy. This year, I've rejoined the church. I'm going back to church every Sunday, really, really doubling down on my connection and my relationship with God. I'm meditating. I used to meditate. I've been meditating for a few years, but now I was meditating for like 10 minutes a day, and now I'm meditating for like up to an hour a day. But specifically like inner child meditations, manifestation meditations. There was a piece I was watching earlier, which comes from like NLP called Gestalt therapy. You may have heard of it. Basically, it talks about how if you have any relationships where you have problems or challenges or unhealed traumas, you need to, if you physically can't get into a connection with those people to talk about it, then you need to actually pretend by like literally putting chairs around the room and imagining that the people that you have problems with are there so you can tell them exactly what you think, and not like ranting and shouting, but it can be that. But it may be just that you want to talk to them and tell them, look, this is how I felt. Maybe it's a parent, right? You know, I felt that I should have got this. And when we were young, I wish I'd had more of this support and that support. Just kind of getting it out, right? So I'm not a therapist, but I've had a lot of therapy. I'm recognizing more and more that my business is growing more the more I'm going deeper into myself. So make no mistake about it, this self one isn't just watch a few YouTube videos a day and you're good. Like it may be. Everybody.
Do some.
It may be that, well, look at it this way. I believe if your coaching business isn't where you want it to be, it's the number one probably fundamental reason is it's probably about your psychology. Because the information is out there, the marketing tools are out there, the knowledge on paid advertising is out there. There's already people out there succeeding. It's not like you're trying to create something like that's new. For example, let's pretend that space travel didn't exist, right? If space travel didn't exist and you were trying to create space travel, people would probably think you're a bit of a loony. And rightly so, because it had never been done before. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about something that's actually really fundamentally basic. Starting a business and getting clients and getting sales. Like, it's actually really easy. So if you're not getting that, something is probably happening energetically that's preventing you from getting it. So you're wanting it, and I've been watching a lot of stuff recently around attachment and detachment. Sometimes the desire for something, if it's so strong, can actually be it's actually like repelling itself from you. So you may say, oh, but Miles, I'm not, I don't need clients, blah, 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 blah. And I don't think I'm coming across as desperate when I'm doing coaching sessions. Look, if people aren't buying from you, it probably is that you're giving out a vibe and you don't necessarily know what that vibe is. But look, if you're not a believer in energy, I always have this funny conversation with people who are not big believers in energy. I say, well, there's some nice Bluetooth headphones that you got on. Silly joke. But you get my point, right? It's Gestalt therapy. That's a year, by the way. And so it's really, really important that you recognize that, like, I don't want to just brush past that one because it's probably the biggest. Like Tony Robbins says, success is 80% psychology, 20% mechanics. I think it's like 90%. Welcome those people that are here. If you're able to turn your camera on, by the way, it'd be great to see you. Yeah, I believe it's 90%. I'm going one up on you, Tony. I believe it's 90% psychology, 10% mechanics. Anyway, you don't need to put it in the chat, but I would like you to think about, if you're really, really honest with yourself, where would you rate your psychology when it comes to not even growing a coaching business, just yourself? And you've got to be really honest with yourself, because the bottom line is you may think it's really good, but if you're not attracting everything you want, it probably isn't the best that it could be. Because if your psychology was great, you probably have all the things that you ultimately want already. So on a scale of 0 to 10, where would you rank? You don't need to put it in the chat, by the way. Keep it private to yourself. You can, but keep it private to you. But where would you rate your psychology in terms of your coaching journey? So, high school would be, got a coach that you pay for, recognize if there is any things within you that are unhealed, past traumas and triggers, having the necessary therapy to deal with it. Exactly. Having the necessary therapy to deal with it. Meditating a lot, doing a lot of self-work, really connecting to your spiritual nature, whatever that looks like. I don't even consider myself a high score, and I feel like I'm doing more work on myself than I've ever done before. Like, even right back in the beginning, I thought I was doing a lot of work on myself. I was. And even now, probably 10 years from now, I'll probably laugh again, because I probably will be doing more then. So where would you rate yourself? Okay, assuming you've got a score. Second, now getting into probably more of the, to quote Robbins, more of the 20%, is a system. You've got to have a system. Now, I assume all of you here that are here in Mastercoach have a system. All of you that are, have paid and bought the Mastercoach system, you have that. But obviously, that's a really key component part of coaching, right? Because interestingly, I had a call with a client earlier, and he's a coaching client. He has a mortgage business. He's now starting to do coaching for his clients. And he said to me, I had a call with somebody and it was meant to be 45 minutes and it was like 2 hours, and I don't know why. Anyway, he's not done our Mastercoach program, but it was really interesting to me how I said, did you feel like you got to an outcome? And he said, no, I didn't. I felt she was more confused at the end of the 2 hours than she was at the beginning. And this is why having a system is so important, because often coaches will say to me, Miles, I just want to keep going and I want to serve, and how long should the session be? Because I feel like, I could coach them for hours and all this kind of stuff. And I say, you want to make sure that your clients feel positively incomplete, because if you if you overcoach, it's a bit like overtraining in the gym. There has to be a point in the workout where you go, you know what, today's enough. I'm done. I'll come back tomorrow. So the purpose of a coaching system is to give a client a specific outcome in a specific time frame, and then you close the loop on that, and then you move on to the next one. So my hope is that all of you are using the Mastercoach system that you've all got access to, because at the end of the day, the most successful coach in the world are the most successful coach in the world, many of them because they use a framework and a system. Tony Robbins, for example, he has been, doing, Unleash the Power Within for, 30 years. It's the same thing, right? It's the same thing every single time, pretty much. The training manual hasn't changed. The content's not really changed. It's the same thing. It works. No one is going along to a UPW and then going back to another UPW and saying, I can't believe it. I want my money back. It's the same as last time, right? It's like going to the gym. You don't do the workout. You don't do the run on the treadmill once and expect to get the result. You've got to do it over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? So a system is designed to give you the certainty that you can get a client from where they are to where they want to be, end the session. Next session, take them from where they are to where they want to be, end the session. And today's conversation with my client is proof that when you coach without a system, you end up with lots of open loops. And often you end up with a client more confused than when they started the session, or you overcoach and then they get to the end of the session and they've had such a good session with more, for example, that they feel like, well, maybe I don't need it anymore because I've had that was such a powerful 2 hours. Maybe I'm complete now. And then they text you and say, you know what? That session was so good. Karina, it was so good. I think I want to just take a break from the coaching for a bit, which is code words for I'm cancelling, I'm not coming back. Right? Because they're too full. It's like you go to the all-you-can-eat buffet, as I did in Turkey last week, and if you eat too much food at once, you can't eat anymore. Unlike Sati, who goes for like 3 million desserts and there has like a bite out of each one. funny story. So you've got to make sure people feel positively incomplete. It's not about holding back. It's not about like keeping your best stuff. It's about recognizing that if you overcoach, it's like overtraining. It's like overeating. You can have too much of it in one go. That's why we use the system, so that you can deliver a great experience. And then 45, 50, 60 minutes later, they're like, oh, where's the time gone? It's over. Next session. Next one, marketing, social. Obviously, we're talking about the 20%. This is why I spend so long talking about the 80% at the beginning, because it's really the most important thing. Third thing is marketing. Most rookie coaches either don't do any marketing or they do no marketing, and therefore they don't get any success whatsoever. If you do the wrong marketing or no marketing, you don't get clients, and then you don't get to help the people you want to help. And you're the world's best kept secret and nobody knows you exist. The best coaches in the world, they know how to market. They understand the conversation in their ideal client's head. This is the key for all of you here, is marketing is not about like just having a niche and deciding your price. It's not. Marketing is about making a decision that to be a great coach, you need to have your own coach and you need to be doing it a lot. But to get paying clients requires you to get leads and attention. And to do that, you don't need to be a coach, you need to be a marketer. So great coaches aren't just coaches, they're great marketers. Tony Robbins is a great marketer. And so to build a great coaching business, you need to take your coaching hat off and you need to put your marketing hat on. You need to be watching videos on marketing. You need to be listening to podcasts on marketing. You need to be going to marketing seminars. You need to be in marketing masterminds. You need to recognize that the next area of your business has to be about studying and learning marketing. You have to learn marketing. How much? It's endless. But you just have to think, well, what makes you buy things? Great marketing. So you need to understand what makes you buy so that you can understand what makes other people buy. So you need to start reading books on marketing, studying courses, listening to podcasts. I can give you, read this book, listen to this podcast, but even that's not enough. You have to make it a dedicated commitment. Like, oh, how much health and fitness should I do? Well, arguably, if you do an hour a day of working on your health and fitness, that would be better than not doing that. So it's the same with marketing. If you spend an hour a day studying marketing, eventually you're going to get to a point where that bears fruit and you will get clients because you'll understand marketing. So when a client says to me, how many hours do I need to coach to be a great coach? I say, well, how many hours does it take you to be great at your job? And they say, years. And I go, then it's going to take you years with coaching. And then they look at me like disappointed, like they thought they were expecting me to just kind of give them some sugar coated, oh, you only need to do it a few hours. I'm like, it doesn't work like that. So how many hours are you spending studying marketing per day? 0. Okay, let's say it's 0, then that needs to change. You've got to start studying marketing. You've got to start understanding that, look, being a great coach, being certified, having I've decided my need, that's not enough. You've got to make a dedicated commitment that, you know what, I'm going to be a coach and I'm also going to become a marketer as well. I'm going to learn the psychology of why people buy. And I don't mean coaching. I mean everything. Why do people buy a new car when they don't need a new car? Why do people buy a holiday when they don't need a holiday? We didn't need to go to Turkey last week. We wanted to go to Turkey last week. Why did we buy it? Well, there's obviously something in our psychology that made us make a decision to do that. You need to understand what's going on in your ideal client's head, the way that the holiday operator knew what was in our heads to get us to buy the holiday. So you need to be a great coach, but you also need to go, I'm going to make a decision from this day forward. I'm going to become a marketer. I'm going to study it every day. I'm going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to watch videos. I'm going to study marketing. Yeah, because the coaches that succeed versus the ones that don't, the ones that do are marketers and the ones that don't aren't. You've got to make a decision to study it. Next, 4. You know the order of these by now. Is sales. You've got to get sales. So assuming you've got leads coming in, you've got to get people to buy from you. Most rookie coaches either don't know how to sell, they don't like selling, or they just do it badly. Hello, Bruce. What do you want? Want food? I can't help you. I'm busy right now. You can say hello to the people though. Can they see you? I don't know if they can see you because you look like a silhouette cat at the moment. There you go. There you go. So they can sort of see you. Hey, dude. I'll feed you in a bit. Bruce, everybody. You can go in there. I think there's food in there. Help yourself. Sales. You've got to have sales. Where was I? Let's assume you've got leads. Let's assume you become a marketer and you've got people coming towards you. You've got to know how to convert them into sales. We've made this easy for you by giving you a framework called the trailer that does all the heavy lifting so that you don't have to. But you've got to get people on the phone. And when you get people on the phone, you have to do that trailer the way that we trained you to do the trailer. There's no good doing the trailer and missing bits out. It's no good doing the trailer and your energy being a 5 out of 10. If your energy is not 10 out of 10 when you do that trailer, people don't be surprised if people don't buy from you. Someone said to me once, Miles, I've been using the trailer. I just don't think it's right for me. I said, that's fair. I said, can you send me a recording of you doing the trailer? They said, yeah, I'll get that from you. They sent me the recording of them doing the trailer, and it was not very good. It was not very good. And what I mean by not very good is that I wasn't feeling it. I said I wouldn't buy. And I asked them, I said, would you buy? I said, would you buy that? And they said no. I said, well, if you wouldn't buy it, what hope have you got? This is why going right back to the beginning, the self bit is so important. Because it was evidently clear to me that this person's problem wasn't the delivery of the trailer. This person's problem was their own psychology. This person's problem was their own state. This person's problem was they weren't working out, they weren't getting enough sleep, they weren't looking at their goals, they didn't have affirmations, they were in the coaching for the wrong reason. They weren't doing it because they wanted to help people. They were doing it because they didn't have a job and they were desperate for money. And the whole energy vibrating around that person was off. It didn't work. Versus somebody else, just an example I always use, like, I don't know, Jackie Berger and Turner, who just by inviting people to coaching calls made about £24,000 in her first 12 weeks. That was an energy thing. If you've ever had a conversation with Jackie, it was her energy that was right. That's why people bought from her, because their energy is great. If people aren't buying from you and you're getting them on trailers, if they are objecting to money, that's different. They genuinely don't have the money. That's an issue you can't resolve. If they're saying, Eva, if I had the money right now, I would buy from you, that's different. But if they're not even saying that they would want to have it, then that's an energy problem. She wasn't even getting people objecting financially. They were just like, oh, I need to think about it. And like, they weren't like, oh my God, I want it. Like, your goal should be to have people by the end of a trailer saying, oh my God, that was absolutely amazing. I would love to do more of that with you. That's the primary goal. Then the secondary goal is to convert them into a paying customer. If you don't get them to say that was absolutely amazing, okay, now talk to me about how much it is. If you don't get them to say that in their words, you haven't done your job properly. Because closing is obviously about then the dotting the I's and crossing the T's in the financial bit. But selling is about how you show up when you deliver that session, like your energy. So people are not like, oh my God, that was freaking amazing in their words, then your energy's off. And that's actually less about the sales element and more about the self bit. If you don't have people on the phone for any trailers, then you've got to solve the marketing bit. If you don't have people, coming in on leads, you need to study more in marketing and kind of go back through it. For me, it really starts with the order of lifestyle coach blueprint probably could change. I think that really it starts with self, then it should be marketing, which is social, then it should be then it should be sales, then it's system, and then it's the fifth one, which is scale. Like, if you were to go in the right order, I think the order actually could do with changing. I'll probably change it now that I've thought of that. And then the fifth one is obviously scale, which you can't do until you've actually got paying customers. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that one. But scale is ultimately where, if you want a great lifestyle, you've got to have a group coaching offer, because what it will also do is it will enable you to have a downsell if people can't afford your one-to-one coaching. Plus, it will be more sustainable long term, because if you only ever do one-to-one coaching, if you get ill or someone that you know gets ill, or you've got 5 clients and 3 cancel, well, you've just lost more than half of your income. But I would never recommend doing group coaching until you really master one-to-one coaching, because what's really important is that you know that group coaching, coaching one-to-many and coaching one-to-one are two completely different skill sets. The way that you master one-to-one to group coaching is by mastering first one-to-one coaching. Like, so you have to become really good at creating a level of presence with one person, because if you don't master that art of true presence with one person, you go to group. If you do have your ideal vision of, you know, dozens of people, hundreds of people in a group session, you might lose the connection with them because you don't know how to engage a large group of people. And those of you that are in Mastercoach, you should have the training on group coaching and how to do it. It's actually the easiest part, in the sense that ultimately all you're really doing is, when you're delivering it, there's obviously, if you see the group coaching training, it's really about, like, mechanically what to do is very much like, well, you set up on Zoom, you create a framework of what you're going to do, or you decide you're going to do hot seat coaching. Either way, the actual mechanical delivery of it is really easy. Again, it's more the psychology of how to do it. The way to master the psychology of group coaching is obviously you've got to master one-to-one coaching, because that's where you're going to be able to ensure that your presence isn't diluted when all of a sudden there's, 25 people staring at you on a screen, or in a hotel in person if you do it that way, versus one. So all things that are obviously very, very common sense, but are obviously maybe perhaps uncommon in practice, especially that first one on self. All right, so I want to open up the floor for Q&A. So if you have a question relating to what we're talking about tonight, put the 7 in the comments so that I know that you've got a question, and then I'll unmute you and bring you on. And what I'd also like to say is a lot of what we are talking about here, especially in terms of the marketing, the scaling, having your own coach, doing the work, a lot of that is obviously what we've historically been working on in our Mastercoach Business Academy, which this year I made a decision, because for many of you that don't know, up until the end of last year, I had a business partner, and that partnership has now ended, and I now have the business to myself. And the reason that partnership ended, various reasons, different values. Chris, my business partner, probably was more about the revenue and the profit of the business. It wasn't the reason I got into it. It was the reason I got into it is because I love coaching and I want to help coaches succeed the way that I've been fortunate to. So when he exited, it meant that I was in more control of how the business would be set up. And so I said, well, first thing that I want to change is I want to make it so that people that want to have my ongoing guidance and support, it's more affordable. Because we've had a lot of people over the past few years who've said after Mastercoach, hey, look, I'd love to have more support. I'd love to have more guidance. I'd love to have more time with you. I'd love to meet in person. But it's not been affordable because of the way the business has been set up. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make it really easy for people to continue. Everybody knows they need a coach. Everybody knows they need a mentor. Everybody knows that they need an elevated peer group. But we kind of made it so that if you could afford it, great, come and join us. If you can't, it was kind of the end. So anyway, in the past couple of months, we, and just a couple of weeks ago in Birmingham, we tested this thing called Boardroom, which is basically just an in-person thing every month. And the feedback from everybody was loved it. Everybody that was there, about 10 people you may have seen, everybody said they wanted to do it every month. So everybody that was there last month are joining. So what we're going to do is it's going to be every last Saturday of the month. We're also going to have a live stream for those people that can't be there in person, which means that you can be there in person because you'll still be in the group. You'll be on Zoom. I'll be communicating with the people on Zoom, not just the people in the room. There will be Q&As every month. There will be guest speakers at the live events, and also mid-month there will be a training, and it will be a guest expert. So it'll be somebody might be speaking about branding, somebody might be speaking about marketing, somebody might be speaking on NLP, somebody might be speaking on social media content creation. Every month there'll be a guest expert, and then every month there'll also be the day in person with me, either live in the room in Birmingham at the NEC, at the apartment at Resort World, or on Zoom. And I basically said, how do we make it so that everybody that's in our community can do it? Let's make it £99 a month, and let's make it people can join, cancel any time, make it really easy. Because at the end of the day, if you're not investing, at least £100 a month in yourself, then that's not congruent with you wanting to sell coaching to other people. Plus, it's a 3-for-1 deal, right? You get me as your coach, you get me as your mentor, and you get an elevated tier group and mastermind. So what I'll do is I will share the link to Boardroom if you've not read the page, find out all the details on that. If you want to join us, great to have you. It's an open thing, no big sales pitch for this, because at the end of the day, it's £99 a month, cancel any time. But it's my way of now going, let's make it so that every single person in our Mastercoach community can be involved, have my support every single month to make sure that everybody succeeds. And I absolutely, nothing in life is guaranteed, but I'm so certain that you will get 5-10 times the return for £99 a month if you attend the sessions, show up fully, play full out, do the work. And for me, it really just makes it more congruent because it's so cheap, right? It's like, what is that? Like £2, what is it, like £3 a day or something? Can't get a coffee for that, right? Talking about you investing in yourself and your coaching. So, Mastercoach Boardroom. I'll share the link a little bit later on. All right. Who has a question? Put 7 in the comments if you've got a question, and I'll bring you on. All righty. So I'm seeing Eva's, not seeing anybody else's. So make sure you put 7 in the chat so that I can bring you on. But I see Eva's. So Eva, let me unmute you. Maybe you can unmute yourself. There you go. You've done it yourself. Perfect.
Hello, Miles, everybody.
Hello, Eva.
Yeah, I have a question which I asked you sometime in the past in the WhatsApp group. How has therapy helped you that coaching hasn't, or in what way is it different?
Good question. So I can only speak for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching has helped me to work on my present and my future. Therapy has helped me to talk about things in the past that maybe I have not spoken about, have had unresolved triggers, issues, traumas, and ultimately I've suppressed. And for me, therapy has just helped me to become better at talking about those things from the past. And by talking about them, it's like it's diffused the emotional trigger that was activated. So like for me, I've got things that like go back to childhood, as we all do. And by speaking about them, the emotional charge that I maybe had about the experience either goes completely diffused, or it's gone down significantly.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching is more about goals, dreams, and future. And I've found for myself that there's been a limit to how much I can either achieve, or there's been a limit to how much joy and fulfillment I've had. Because if there's trapped emotions in my body, It doesn't matter how much I succeed in the future or in the now. I've not necessarily pre-therapy really enjoyed those things because the joy has been affected by the unhealed things from the past. By healing the things from the past, it's meant that I'm able to be more in the now and be more present and more joyful and enjoy my everyday life more than maybe before, when unconsciously there was things deep down that were like buried. Like, for example, I used to be really angry. And I didn't understand why. And now I understand why, because I've had loads of therapy. Anger really is just suppressed emotion. And it's anger is like an emotion explosion. Whereas when you are able to articulate your emotions, it means that there's not so much necessity for anger. So I still have moments where I feel frustrated or annoyed. Like on holiday, there was a moment I was annoyed about something and I got out of state, but it wasn't like rah, like I used to get really angry. I used to have these really angry episodes, and I don't have them. I don't really have them anymore. I get really angry because I had suppressed emotion. Now I get frustrated and annoyed and a bit pissed off sometimes, but I don't really get angry the way I used to be. Maybe now and again, but before it used to be a lot. And now I don't feel like it's not very common anymore.
Miles, like questions that we have in the script where we're asking people and ourselves about things in the past, so that what comes from that helps us to make decisions for the future. So questions like that, aren't they enough? Let's say in the case of anger, aren't they enough to help you deal with anger, or at least not to, or at least to understand, to help a person understand things like this, or make them more open to listen to themselves, to tune in themselves and understand themselves better without perhaps needing the extra help of therapy?
The client will know if it's enough by if their life is getting better. So if their life is getting better and they don't still feel like there's things inside of themselves that are unresolved, then yeah, maybe they don't. Because I don't believe everybody necessarily needs therapy. If somebody's had a really good childhood and they haven't had maybe any trauma and they haven't had any experiences that still have highly charged emotional triggers, then maybe they don't. But I think the client will be the one that will be able to determine that. Like, so if you have a client and you feel your sensory acuity is that the client feels to you still feels kind of like you feel like there's still a stuck energy around the client, maybe they do need therapy. But you can't. I would never tell a client that they should have therapy, but I would just ask questions to help them to maybe come to their own conclusions that maybe that might be something worth exploring. Or maybe I'll recommend a book or a resource, something that's a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've recommended to clients before, like, hey, you should check out this book called The Recovery of the Inner Child, like, which is a great book, which I've used and I've recommended it to people. And then from that book, they've then made a decision themselves, you know what, maybe I should do some inner child therapy, right? They've made that decision themselves. But I've just recommended a book that I've personally done. So I would only ever say it and recommend it and suggest it if I've done it, right? So if I'd not had lots of hours of therapy, I wouldn't be saying to my client, hey, you should maybe consider having therapy. I'll only do anything that feels congruent with my own experience.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Eva. Good questions. Fatiha, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Miles. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Fatiha. Good to see you.
Good to see you. My question is, it's about psychology. So if you have done so many things and you've been working on your coaching career for many years and you haven't moved forward, and you realize it must mostly your psychology. So what could be the most effective activities or things to do in order to kind of like unstuck or unblock yourself besides therapy? And where would be the best place to find some good therapist, especially online, if it's not expensive and things like that?
I would just be exploring for Tia. Like, I would literally be like, Sage was in Turkey last week and she was at the buffet and she was just exploring different foods. I think as a coach, I think you have a responsibility for you to explore, not just for yourself, but for your clients. So like, just explore. Like, I could tell you something, but I think you should just explore. Like, there's meditation and there's plant medicine and there's tapping and there's pranic healing and there's shamanic healing and there's so many different things at the all-inclusive table of personal development, right? There's so much. I don't think it's fair for anybody here, me included, to say this is the way, this is the solution, this is going to solve all your problems, because it's like, for some people, running is the way. For other people, they hate running, they go to the gym. Some people, they hate going to the gym, they like swimming. I don't think there's one thing that is for everybody. I think it's about, you've got to try things out. Like last year for me was doing a lot of therapy. This year I'm back at church. Like, I'm trying things out. Like, I'm doing longer meditations. I'm trying things out. I'm exploring what feels right, what helps me develop, what helps me grow. And you've got to do the same.
Yeah,
There's
I've been
not one
trying.
answer, it's just about.
So I've been searching around these things, about looking what is for me that can help me to move forward. And so I've been searching, like doing about meditation and manifestation and even NLP. I've been reading about NLP. What else I did? Beliefs, limiting beliefs, just looking through my limiting beliefs and doing affirmation and sleeping with affirmation. So all these things I've been trying. Morning I will do, I will do affirmation. And sometimes maybe about if I'm see myself, I'm not able to go exercise, I would do meditation or affirmation about exercising, taking actions, maybe about coaches, blocks that can create coaches to move forward, and what some affirmation we will be doing. So I tried all these things. Every day I will reading books, mainly just to have that awareness about what's stopping me from as a coach. I believe on myself. I still didn't give up on myself, but still I'm not getting clients. So
So for you, based on that, Fatia, it may be worth you, not necessarily he is the solution, but it may be worth you looking at some of the work of like a Joe Dispenza, for example, because when you speak then, it reminds me of sometimes the way I've spoken. When we speak, sometimes we make ourselves bigger than we actually are. So in the grand scheme of like the universe, we're like a tiny speck, right? And sometimes we make our, the story we tell ourselves about what we think we can and can't do, and getting clients and not getting. Sometimes we make it like we're this big grand thing, and this is not to make you feel insignificant, but sometimes we make ourselves bigger than we actually are. Like in the grand scheme of the universe, we are nothing. We're just like this tiny speck of dust, right? And when you listen to the work of like a Joe Dispenza, he makes you realize that we are positively insignificant. We aren't anything. We are nothing. We are just all together. We're not like it's not you and me. It's we, right? And we're just here existing. And if we think and that thinking is not working, then it may be because if our thinking is at a certain level of consciousness, then he talks about like the thinking that you currently have. If you don't have the life you want, it's not that you need new things, it's that you need to upgrade your thinking.
Yes.
Like if you were in a building and you're on level 3, you need to go up to level 5. Meditation's a way to go up, but at the same time, learning the intellectual science behind what meditation does, and Joe Dispenza, I think, really is a great person at articulating that and understanding that fundamentally, if you don't have what you want, your thinking's flawed. Your level of consciousness isn't dialed up to a frequency to attract what you want. And that in and of itself, to a lot of people, is a bit mind-blowing, which is why I always go back to the Bluetooth headphone thing, which is that there are things going on around us. This is what I've been learning over the past few months. There are things going on around us that are much greater than we could ever possibly imagine. But there are things happening for us. Tony Robbins says things are happening for us, not to us. And when you recognize that things are happening for you, not to you, if you can recognize that, not just say it as an affirmation, but actually realize that that's true, you start to go into a heightened sense of awareness where, like this morning, I was like filming a video and I saw squirrels like playing with each other in the trees. And I just got distracted in the video because I was so caught by these squirrels playing in the trees. It made me realize that like me and the squirrels are just in this world, in this universe, and we're just in this moment, we are just together, right? And then we're not. And it's just, so there are things that I'm learning and things that I'm now saying here that maybe a few years ago I wouldn't have said, because I'm starting to go, you know what? I'm achieving things, but I'm still not as fulfilled as I thought I would be. Well, I know that I don't need to achieve more things. I know I need to expand my consciousness. Yeah. And so maybe for you, that's not saying that's going to be the solution for you either, but I'm saying maybe the personal development you've been doing, maybe you now need to explore a different type of personal development.
Yeah, definitely. For the book, I've been studying that book twice and read it twice maybe, and I will drive and listen to that book. What is it called, of Joe Dispenza? So I believe on what you said about there is something higher than ourselves. Maybe if I didn't get that, maybe I should upgrade my thinking, upgrade the way I see things, and see it not in just in my own perspective, but for me it would be in Allah perspective, a bigger universe things. So I think it just it's the small steps to take to create awareness. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And one of the things that I find is really key, and I guess this is really easy for me to believe because I come from a fitness background, but the way that I believe fitness needs to be done every day and brushing teeth needs to be done every day. It's great to listen to a Joe Dispenza book in the car, maybe once or twice or sporadically, but I think it's really important that you recognize, everybody, that habits daily have every day that you wake up is a new day. It resets itself. So if you did something yesterday, you have to do it the same. So when we went on a holiday to Turkey, we did all the same habits in Turkey that we did at home. Because I remember when I used to go on holiday and pause my habits thinking, I don't need them now, I'm on holiday. And then I'd have a shit holiday because I wasn't doing the things that made me feel good. And I thought that the holiday was going to make me feel good just because it was a holiday, right? So I was still doing meditations and still, there's a particular Joe Dispenza video that you find it on YouTube, and it's titled like, listen to this every day when you wake up. And so within the first hour and a half of the day, there's a multitude of things I do, but that video is about 13 minutes long. I listen to it every day. Because he basically says things like, most people get up in the morning, they straight away worry about their problems, they check their WhatsApp. He's saying all the things that most people automatically do. I need to be reminded of that every day. Like, I can't just go, oh yeah, I heard that once 3 weeks ago. Yeah, yesterday, today I woke up and there was worry in my mind. That video I watched 5 times this morning because it wasn't sinking in. So I was like, I've got to keep watching it. Like, it was just, I had to, one video, 13 minutes, I watched it 5 times before 9 a.m. because I was like, there's no point me doing anything else until that sinks in. Then eventually it sunk in and I was like, okay, on with the day.
Great, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool, you're welcome. Oh, who else? Great to see you, Fatia, by the way. Georgetta, let me call. I think I've got time for one more question, Georgetta. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, Miles. Welcome back.
Hey, Georgetta. Thank you.
And congratulations with the God meditation and prayers, guys. Well done. Amazing. We're getting higher and hotter.
I like that.
Okay, my question is, why should we not overcoach?
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier about overtraining. If you go to the gym and you train with intensity, there has to be a point where the workout is over, meaning your body is just exhausted and needs to rest. So the exercise is important, but equally so is recovery. So the purpose of a coaching session is not for the coaching session. The purpose of the coaching session is to create a heightened level of awareness for the client to then take back into their everyday life. The coaching session is a pause on their life. And the purpose of the coaching session is not the session. It's what they then do after the session. It's what they do between sessions. So the work isn't done on the coaching session. The work is done away from the coaching session. So if you overcoach, it's like overeating. If you give the client too many breakthroughs and insights, they'll become overwhelmed and not apply any.
Right.
So a perfect coaching session only maybe needs 1 or 2 insights. And then it's like, off you go. Go and apply what you've learned. And then we'll see you for the next session next week or next month.
Okay, but what if it's a kind of a client they love being overcoached and they could actually turn it around for you? Do you keep coaching them?
When you say they love being overcoached, what do you mean?
Okay, I was in this coaching session with somebody, of course I can't name, and it was just like mind-blowing. The session you gave us was mind-blowing. Just in 3 questions, he was like, tell me more, and it just was absorbing, feeding. It's like it was empty. So I was filling him up. We did some exercise. He called his children in to the call and his wife, and we all start doing like star jumps, enjoying the coaching just become like a playtime. Basically, it just changed into a playtime. And I didn't mind because I didn't have anything else to do, to be honest with you. There was no one else there to coach. And when we finished, he gave me a private call and asked if I could maybe do a session for 6 more people. So that's why when you said today, overcoaching can be overbearing for some people. So I'm not sure whether it's for everybody or maybe it's just for certain people.
It's not so much overbearing. Definitely wouldn't say that. I wouldn't use those words.
Yeah.
But when you said something, you said that you did like 3 things, and he said like, tell me more. So that's my point. If you did those 3 things and he was like, wow, this has been amazing, and that happened in 20 minutes, you can be done. Because that insight needs to be then applied. And you brought the kids in and they did the jumping jacks and all that stuff, that's great. If all you did was have his family come in and do star jumps and recognize that the energy of the house is largely related, dictated by the state. If you only did that one, you only have that one piece that you coach them on in that session, you're done. You don't need to do anything else. For the next 30 days, if all they do is work on their state, you transform that house. If you carried on coaching and went off down something else, they might forget the thing that was the most.
You're frozen. Is it me frozen?
No, not you.
No, I don't think it's you. I think it's
Mm.
Miles.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yes, it's Miles.
Hi, Jen.
Good to see you all again.
Good to see you,
Hi.
Jen. How are you?
Good, good.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Nice to
Hello,
see you.
guys. Hmm.
He's
But
gone.
I love the idea that you got back to Allah and
Oh, thank you.
you concentrated, because it's very important that we don't lose sight.
Yeah.
Very important, because that could even make us crumble. We need to believe in
Sometimes
something to let us grow.
you think life or things that happen,
Mhm.
whatever you're doing, coaching, there's nothing to do with the bigger picture of Allah, but it's all related, like
It is.
Miles said, okay? It's all
It's N.
related.
Fatima, it's N. It's not only one. It's Allah
Yes.
and coaching. It's all N.
It is
Allah,
all
yes,
in it.
yeah,
It is Allah,
and
it is
coaching, yeah.
God, it is coaching,
Yeah.
it is meditation, it is
It's all.
prayer time. It's
Yeah.
all connected.
Yeah.
All of it is
Yeah, like
connected.
today I was reflecting, maybe by me being a coach now, maybe that's a message from Allah who sent me to this, why he chose me to be a life coach. I was in an education business, and now I'm in coaching. So maybe a message from him that
Yeah, but
meant
stay
to
with him. Stay with him every
Yeah.
day. It's like with
Mhm.
God.
Yeah.
It's when you start with God and you start with Allah or with another thing that you
Mhm.
want, then you're coaching. It's all aligned. It's all with beautiful energy. And when you do
Yeah.
meditation with it and affirmation with it and NLP and all those things, when you bind it together, then you become a super person.
Yeah.
So it's all together.
Even,
It's
even Tony Robbins,
this
even Tony
I
Robbins
always
is
teach
doing
them,
it online.
yeah,
Tony
myself.
called God Allah, called
Yeah.
God Allah. Every time he trains somebody, it's God, God, God.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
Yeah, this
it's
is why I make it my priority. If I make it my priority, and then everything else is connected.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
It's God first, or it is Allah first.
First,
It's
yeah.
first that one, and then all the rest. It's connected all
Comes,
together.
yeah.
It's the same. God
Thank you.
Allah. It's just she calls it Allah because of her nation. We call
Yeah,
it
but
God
Yes,
because of
but
our
everybody
nation.
calls it differently. I
Yeah, but
call
it
it
is all the
Allah. Some
same.
people
Yeah.
they say God. Some people
Yeah.
they say
Yeah.
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 It's all one.
Eroi. So people
It's
call him Eroi, the great
yeah,
master.
yeah,
Eroi.
yeah. But it is all one energy. But it is in every land, in every nation, it's another name. But it is
Yes.
all the same. It's all the same.
Yes.
It's the same energy. It's love energy. It's coming
is.
from the same, but we give it all another name.